Okay, our timer's up, but I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can get out of the optimized video mode. But I'll put you on the next slide so you can talk about it while I switch.
Okay, that sounds good. Yay, just two. So we're going to play around with Jamboard a little bit today. Hey, Terry, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Have either of you used Jamboard before?
Nope.
No.
Okay. It is essentially an interactive virtual whiteboard. So think about all the times that you use whiteboards in the classroom, whether they be in our ed classrooms, we have those little white ones where they can write on individually. I've done things like that. Or they have, I even think of the way that we use our posters, those great big sheets of paper. So it could be little whiteboards, table whiteboards, or the great big whiteboard. There's lots of uses, but just kind of keep that in mind as we look at Jamboards. And I'm thinking for groups, Mary, do you think we would just be in one group? We'll just put them in one group?
We can create each group if anybody else shows up.
Right. So we wanted to kind of give you the experience of what it would be like for students if you were teaching live online and then had them go out to collaborate in a Jamboard or use that Jamboard and then come back. So what we're going to do, and I want to kind of give you the directions first before we do it. I'll post a link in the chat. So if you want to enable the chat, it's Barry. Hi. Good to see you in just a minute. But I just wanted to show you what it looks like. When you click on the link, you're going to get to the Jamboard screen like this. And I'm sharing one Jamboard that you'll all be in, kind of like when we did Google Slides and we had a slide deck. We're all going to be in this exact same one. And you use the very top, that little arrow up there, to toggle through the slides. So you'll all be in the same group, but if you had multiple groups of students, they could each have their own Jamboard. So you could put 2 students in a group and just have them work in pairs, or you could put 3 students in a group. We put the little logos at the top there, but you could just have them start with a blank board, or you could have them start with a problem already on there. So right now you're going to be starting with the blank board. So we'll put the 3 of you in a group. You'll be in group 1, and we want to give you 5 minutes to just get to that first board that says group 1 and play for 5 minutes. Share some of the features and see how it interacts in real time. So if Terry puts something on there, how Joni sees it and vice versa. So I'm going to go ahead and post this link in the chat, and I want you to click on that link, but keep your Webex open, because remember, we're going to be kind of layering tools here. You'll be using the Webex to keep that conversation going and that still be in that virtual session with your group. And you'll get a group invite in just a little bit, but then you'll also have that Jamboard to be working in as well.
It's helpful if I actually had enabled the breakouts before we started. So I hadn't hit the enable breakout link at the top from the menu. So you guys can talk about what you want to do for your 5 minutes. I'm going to, and really it's just into one session.
Group, yeah.
Okay, that works for me.
Right.
And we're setting
the time for maybe 5 minutes. So the best way to play around, there's some tools on the left-hand side, and you'll just start playing with the tools, and you can see each other like changing colors of pens or trying sticky notes. So and I would recommend too, if you're going to do this with students, give them about 5 minutes to play around with the features rather than giving them a task to do and they kind of panic that they don't know how to use Jamboard. Andrea just joined. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. We might split this into 2 sessions.
We're going to set you into 2 different groups. And Andrea, I'm going to copy a link and put it in the chat. You are going to navigate to Jamboard, and once you get there, keep this Webex open, but you'll also be able to go to a Jamboard. And then you'll get a link to a breakout session.
Okay, and I didn't want to hit the start breakout session until everybody was kind of ready. Did you figure out where Jamboard was? You got to use that link? Because as soon as I hit that start breakout session, the countdown timer starts, and you'll have 5 minutes. So
Here comes Arlene.
oh, let me get Arlene in.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are playing with Jamboard, and it's an interactive whiteboard. So what we want to do is use WebEx for you to still be able to be put into breakout teams or breakout rooms, but then also use Jamboard for the collaboration space. So I'm going to put the link here again, and what you're going to do is navigate to that Jamboard site while keeping WebEx open in the background so you can hear each other and talk with each other and collaborate. Has everybody give us a thumbs up if you've been to the Jamboard site, if you've been able to go to the link and you see the original Jamboard page? Okay, as soon as you get there, if you're breakout group 1, you're going to toggle to group 1 page. If you're breakout group 2, you're going to toggle to group 2 page, and you have 5 minutes to play around with the features. Okay, it's a breakout. Here is Jamboard 1. Does somebody, whoever worked on Jamboard 1, just share some of the features that you tried or that you used or you noticed, some features you noticed. Go ahead, unmute and you can share.
We used sticky notes and we drew circles. And that's my really bad in the middle there. It's supposed to be a rose, but I can't draw.
But I myself, a math person, like the grid background.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I changed the background.
Yeah. So we talked about, hi, I'm Barry. I'm also a math faculty. We talked about how all the sticky notes or anything the students do, they are anonymous. And so I guess one tip, I forgot who was it that told us that asking students to sign their name always when they post something. So that's a good idea.
Right, if you want to hold each student accountable for contributing or sharing an idea, or even if you just had a whole page of sticky notes and they shared something, you would want them to put their name at the bottom of the sticky note, or if they'd added an image, to put their name there. Okay, let's go to board 2, and we'll have someone from board 2 share what they learned about it or some ideas.
We had a lot of fun.
I see. Puppy,
Yeah.
people fun.
We obviously practiced uploading an image, sticky notes, changing the background color, saying hi to each other, and bringing in circles. And then I'm actually not sure the ghost, if that was an image that was brought in. I think
It looks like it, because I see signature at the bottom and copyright type stuff. So it looks like
okay.
I brought it in.
Okay, so what was interesting though is that something was said, and for a little bit there was a little A by it. So does it indicate who's doing it when they're doing it? Because my name begins with A, and they said, "Oh, Andre, could you do that?" And I had not done it. Did anyone else notice the little A by it?
I haven't seen that feature before. One of the things that they have at the very bottom is the laser. And if I grab the laser and circle the puppy's eyes, there is a delay. Like after I let the laser go, you can see that I circled the puppy's eyes.
Okay, I think
almost
that's what it
have
was. We were playing with the lasers, so it could be that Arlene drew something, and then I saw the A briefly because it did disappear. So okay, that explains it.
One of the other things I noticed is when you put a sticky note on, you can't format the text on the sticky note. So I was trying to play around a little bit with some of the content on the sticky notes, and I didn't really like. You also, if you put a sticky note on, you have to actually put something in the box for it to save. It won't just save a plain sticky note or an empty sticky note. And you can't always resize the text. That's something kind of interesting. The text box might be more useful for doing some of those kinds of tools. Okay.
I put this slide in here because I realized as we were processing what our activities were going to be, that there were shortened versions of the instructions, reminders that I wanted to send out while you guys were working. And I didn't want to have to retype them, so I started a document that had anything I might want to drop in the chat or anything I might want to broadcast to you guys as a message. So you saw my, hey, 5-minute Jamboard playtime's underway. Keep an eye on the countdown clock by keeping your Webex participant panel open. So that was broadcast to both groups. But I was able to just copy it out of my document and drop it into the broadcast instead of having to retype it. So that was my hot tip for the day. Time saver.
Okay.
Wait, can we, Jen, real quick? So I didn't notice the clock, or the note, but we could have had the clock open, is what you're saying, Mary, at the same time we had Jamboard open?
Yes. So within WebEx, we were encouraging you to keep your WebEx open and keep your Jamboard open. So within WebEx, if you have your participant panel open, at the top you'll see a countdown clock.
Okay, I kept it going so I could hear people, but I didn't have it visually. So, okay.
And you can certainly move it around so that all you can see is that panel. So it's something to try in our second activity for today because you'll be on a timer.
Can I ask a quick question, Mary?
Sure.
I was curious about, because it's very fun, free form. And I was just wondering, how do you avoid students just checking off something that somebody else has written because it was easy to pick. Everybody can work on the same frame. Has that happened or?
Yeah, there's a little toggle up at the front, like with most Google products, an undo and a redo. So if somebody accidentally takes something off, they could do the redo and put it back on. And that's one of the things that you would probably, I love that you brought that up, Barry, is say to students, like with all Google products, when you're working collaboratively, someone else could erase something of yours, or you could accidentally erase something of someone else's. So make sure that you're respectful of that. Or, if you keep that voice in the background open through WebEx, you can say, hey, Andre, I think you just deleted mine, or somebody just deleted my sticky note. Can you put that back on? Ideally, if you're going to have the verbal collaboration through WebEx, but then this is where they're actually, some like Andrea might have that full board open, so they're just hearing each other in the background.
Another good reason to let the students have some kind of a low stakes playtime so that they can make those kind of mistakes and realize, oh, that would be bad to do that during a real assignment.
So I've got a question. So I went in, of course, I'm in my mail. I opened this up and it's right there. Can you save these then somewhere? Because, I know that I accessed it through my Google account and it showed this one because I was in it, obviously.
Can you see my screen, Terry? Right next to the share button, there's the 3 dots and there's a download as PDF. So it would download all of it. Or if there was just 1 or 2 that you wanted as models, you can save that particular frame.
Oh, okay.
So there are options to keep their work.
I have one quick question for students that are doing math. Can they open this like on the iPad and be able to write it?
There is an iPad app. I don't know that we haven't played with it, but it's supposed to be good. I've seen online looking at some articles where they conduct entire classes just using Jamboard as an iPad. So I would actually just go to YouTube and do a search on Jamboard and iPad. Keep it limited to the last month or 2 in your search, and you'll get something really recent.
If students want to be able to do it on their phone, the app is just a little bit different. One of the things that we did like with it is you could upload a picture from your phone, which we thought, that's kind of neat if they used it with their phone. And the other thing that you can think about too is if you already have students broken into groups, each group could have their own Jamboard set, just like they could have their own slide deck. They could have their own group of, right now we're all in the same Jamboard, but if you had Team 1 for multiple weeks, they could all work in Team 1's Jamboard, which would be separate than Team 2's Jamboard. They wouldn't necessarily have access to the same one. So you could have students individually working on a Jamboard. You could have them working on it in pairs, or you could have the whole class in one and have them in groups. So it really is an interactive feature, and you can see by looking at the top, who's all in the Jamboard. We want to continue to play a little bit. We talked a little bit about some of the features and some of your favorite features. There is in the Google Slides that we'll give you the link for today, a list of all of the features in there. If you take a peek at Mary's screen in the WebEx, the draw, the eraser, select, sticky note, image, shapes, and text boxes. So here's a list of all the features, and then we've got a page 2.
And you guys said you used a lot of these, right? Laser, you changed backgrounds. This frame bar, that's where you can, let me jump. Jen showed me this earlier. I just didn't know that's what it was called. If I'm back in Jamboard and that little icon at the top where you toggle back and forth, you can expand it and it shows there's the first jam, but if you do that drop down, you can kind of see the jams right there. If you hover over one of them, there's a little 3-dot menu there that Mary is clicking on, and you can just duplicate that one. So say you set up group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, you could duplicate so that each one has a couple of slides. As she toggles down here, you can see we weren't sure how many groups we would have. So we had a board for group 4 and a group board for group 5. But, depending on how many join your session. So you can, title those, you can have them have one come into one, or you can just have them add their own. If you just go to the next, it keeps adding board after board after board. I thought I would toggle until there weren't any more, and I didn't realize as I was toggling, it just kept adding more slides to it, more boards to it.
Do you mind showing how you do the cool, just the group title, what do you call it? Like art, word art type of things?
I am so glad you asked because that was Mary's Tech Tuesday for today. We were in, when was that, this week? We were doing a little
Yesterday
workshop,
morning, we were doing research for this, I think.
and we found a really great site that lets you use font without having to download the whole package of the font. And so that was Mary's Tech Tuesday today. She did, I think, like a 4-minute video, and it's in the blog.
And it's just trying to find, here it is, try full text. So I was finding it so I can drop it into the chat.
It is called fulltext.com, and it gives you all of these different texts that you can try.
Was she a plant?
Yeah, exactly. So we just went to cooltext.com.
There's a video in that post that's 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's 3 minutes long, so you can check it out. But you can put any font. It's got all these different fonts, and you just click on it and type your text and download it, and there you go.
And just to show you the page, basically you just click on whichever one you want and then type in what you want it to say, and you've got your text that you can download.
Very cool and very fast.
So we download as an image on your computer and then you insert it in here. Got it. Okay.
Right. You can see that this is an image through 5, and I can resize it or rotate it. So
Very cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're going to give you a 10-minute challenge to work in your teams, and we're going to leave you in the same teams. You are going to find your next team Jamboard. So if you're team 1, you're going to scroll through. You'll pass 3, 4, and 5 and get to team 1 challenge or team 2 challenge. And you've got a board there. You can erase your team number at the top if you want, but we want you to think about how could you use Jamboard in the classroom? What activity could you do, or how could you use this interactive whiteboard? So you have 10 minutes to create the directions for a Jamboard activities. And if you create one in 5 minutes and say, hey, that was easy, add another Jamboard and do another one. So we are going to put you back in your breakout groups. Again, keep Webex open so that you can talk to each other. And go ahead and navigate to your second board and come up with a way to use Jamboard in the classroom. So write out the directions for an activity.
okay, ready? Go. Your 10 minutes starts now. Look, everybody's back.
Yay! Welcome back.
Well, I learned something. I thought when I hit end session, you'd all get the boot. And apparently I hit end sessions and it gave you another minute. So, just FYI.
Same with Zoom. Same way.
I think that did that last week too, that we learned that once you say end it, it lets them wrap up.
It gives them another minute. Well, and what I thought is, okay, I'll give you 15 minutes and I'll let you know at 14 that you have a minute left. And then I said 1 more minute and hit end, and then it gave you another minute.
Yeah. I used it today, did that. I was like, it kind of messed me up because I was really under time with the crunch. I was like, I got to remember this so that I do less time so that and factor that in. But I forgot.
Yeah, and it would have been fine if 10 minutes had been sufficient for you guys. It would have been fine. But once I was in, I couldn't reset the clock for another 5 minutes for you without kicking you all out of your sessions and starting the session again. So all I could do was say, okay, I'm going to let the clock go to 15 minutes instead of 10 minutes and then stop it.
Okay, do you guys want to share out? Let's toggle to
Share.
some of our boards. 10 minutes is never enough, is it? Okay, group 1, do you want to share your team challenge?
Well, this was, we kind of did something based on what I did today. How nice it would have been to have had this with the breakout session where they each had, I just did a random assignment that they were in 2 groups. They had articles they were supposed to have read, and then each group had to find the main points out of the article. But we were thinking we could have had them do this and then categorize them, like put similar ideas together in some way that they could come up with. They could number them, they could use different colored sticky notes and start arranging them. We didn't really go past, like I just put a definition, because one of the articles starts with a definition.
I like that.
But we also were talking about what you could do for math. And I think explaining how you come up with the answers you do so that you can actually demonstrate that you understand it, what you're doing, versus Like when I took math, I would do the equation. I could see how to do it. But if they asked me how I got my right answer, you might not be able to tell them. So you really don't know what you're doing. You just are memorizing the steps and the procedure.
Okay, one way that I could see this being useful for both the math and English is that it allows you to use an image as a background. So I will skip to the one that I did this morning that I was messing around with, which is, if I were having my students talk about trade, I could have them use the annotations to designate where these things off to the right go. So I want them to show me where the tariff is, and they could actually say, okay, the tariff is right here between these two lines. And if I want to say, well, how much are we importing with the tariff? Then they could move that here and use some kind of indicator again. They could use the pen to say it goes from here to here. So you can drag on it, you can write on it, and they could work together on the graph to solve what was going on. So for me, I see that as being really useful for, as I say, graphs or equations, things where you could have an image of it and just use it as the background.
Yeah, so you could even take an image of something and you could have the labels there like Mary did for the students drag and drop, or you could have students create their own labels and place them on the mitochondria, where's the riboflavin and the cell nucleus. So you could have them create their own, whether it be sticky notes or text boxes, and then write on them in text and label parts. But again, I brought in this picture of cell. I just did the little add an image and did a Google search for a cell and added the cell to the page. So it's actually an image that's the background.
So this was mine. And my thought was I was converting an activity we did in class into Jamboard, in that there'll be 6 groups. Each group will be given a cause of an intellectual disability, and then they would find these Post-its and find the information and put it on the different colored Post-its.
I like the idea of having the color coding with the Post-its, whether it's for category in something that you're using, or if all of the students in the class were working together on one thing, and group 1, you guys all use yellow Post-it notes. I'm always a color coder, so I like that.
I like that too.
This is another one of ours.
Okay.
Yep. So if we're in person, I love to put them in, give them scenarios at each table. So I thought I could do the same thing, and I tell them, you're the principal, you're the parent, you're the teacher, you're the student. No, they pick themselves, doesn't really matter. But once they're given that scenario, then the students could write their scenario out, how they would maybe face that challenge, blah, blah, based on the script.
Yeah, I love that. So you have the challenge and then they pick based on, okay, that's really cool. I like that too. Any other ideas, you guys, as we're just kind of brainstorming? Mary, do you want to go forward and share just a couple that we worked?
Oh, I did that one too.
Oh, good. Share that one.
That was just an idea that because we discuss educational theorists, they could each put them in groups and create a poster about chosen theorists, highlighting their theory and how they'd incorporate that theory in their classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how best to use our hour today, and you guys almost ended up having to make a poster for us. But we didn't do that way.
Well, that's what we even said, like at the beginning of the semesters, I have them do a team board or a team folder on the top of their folders where they put an image. I mean, you could have each of them create their group poster and upload an image of themselves on it, come up with a team name, and put a text box of their name underneath. So kind of I'm envisioning like what I used to have in the classroom as their team folder. It could be kind of their group activity. I thought a jigsaw activity would be fun too. If you had 4 pages of a text or 4 small articles, kind of like Joni said, 4 different kinds of, different perspectives, have each group read a part of the whole and get in a group. So everyone that read part 1 or everyone that is a principal get together and kind of discuss how the principal would act. And then, kind of form that perspective or work in a jigsaw group. They could read, discuss, summarize, and then pick one person to report back to the whole group. One of the other things that we said is like Jamboard is just one of the tools that we could use for Jigsaw. You could also do it with Google Docs or Padlet. I see this being really effective, particularly if you have math problems. So students can work it out and you can see the process through which they got there. So whether you take a picture of the math problems and put it on there, and then that you see how they're actually working it out or scripting it out, or students can work on it collaboratively, that'd be great. We said even a four corners debate. So you could make a statement and they could pick a stance, whether they strongly agree, disagree, or strongly agree, and then go to that board. And you could have those boards pre-labeled and then just put their ideas and share, and they could talk verbally, but then add like a statement in a Post-it note that kind of summarizes their ideas. And then graffiti boards. I love to use these in the classroom too. I thought you could have, say you have 7 groups in your class, you could divide them up by 7 groups and put a prompt or a discussion at the top of each one, and have that original group say, okay, as an original group, you're going to go to your prompt, your board. So some go to group board 1, some go to board 2, 3, 4, and you're going to only write in green text and give them 10 minutes to come up with some ideas or brainstorm or share some suggestions. And then when the time ends, they could rotate to board 2, and there would be the prompt and some content already there that the first group shared, and they could just add to that. And then they could rotate to group 3, and then eventually have them come back to, maybe they're only going to do 2 or 3 boards, but then come back to their first board and see the whole layers that the groups had created, or the brainstorming. Just like you would use a graffiti board in the classroom, you could throw up a question like a test review. Everybody throw up a question for a test review. This group take chapter 1, this group take chapter 2, or a flashback, something you learned from the previous unit. Grab a sticky and just load that board with some stickies. Critical thinking questions you could ask, or brainstorming questions. So just pose the question, what does your vision look like? So just some ways we were kind of brainstorming or trying to think about how to use Jamboards.
Hey, Jim, I really like that graffiti board. I was thinking, because I have this activity in a writing class. I was trying to think how to reproduce it, where they all brought 2 introductions, and then students gave them feedback, what they liked about each one, which one they liked best. And you'd have to have several little slides, but they could be they could do something with that, do Post-it notes, because I use Post-it notes in the class. So that, I can see potential to do some stuff that I was trying to figure out how to do. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Have each student upload an image of their text, and they could grab the red marker and like circle around, or the yellow one to highlight, or they could actually add it as an image. The students could themselves take their paper and add a portion of it as an image. And then you could use the tool to just say, circle spelling errors, or, write all over the top of it. You could annotate over the top too.
Just as a reminder that last week's Tech Tuesday, I almost said LOL, last week's Tech Tuesday post was about small group activities online, which included a lot of these that we just talked about. So examples, things that you had them face to face, how you could adapt them synchronously and how you can adapt them asynchronously. So either online environment. And then there are several articles in here dealing with group activities online as well. I particularly like this Harvard Business Publishing article because they had sort of a sidebar of here's how to prep your students and tasks that your students may want to do to make sure they're ready to perform well in these small groups. So I thought that was helpful. So that was last week's Tech Tuesday, but you'll be able to link to it through the slide when I give you the link today, which will be in a moment.
And I think that's all we had for you. Any other ideas or anything you want to share? We're about at time here, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it, or any ideas for how you use it, or does it have you kind of shared some things and shared with each other? Any other thoughts on Jamboard?
No, I would think Joni and I were excited about it.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, this and that, hence
And
we need more time.
Each group could have their own Jamboard, and they could use it all year long. You know what I mean? Or for several weeks. So group 1 could have their own Jamboard. Group 2 could have their own Jamboard that they could just keep adding slides to or jams to week after week. Or you could ask a daily question of the day and have each student respond. Here's my question for Tuesday's question or Thursday's question, and each student goes on and creates their own Jamboard response, or each group does their own Jamboard response.
You could also have with like when the students do, I have students do presentations and they're supposed to write down some questions and ask them. A lot of times they're reluctant to ask questions, but this would allow them to be anonymous and put questions up on a board for the group and to answer. So I think that you get more questions.
Yeah.
How do I find this though? This is an add-on, or this I'm just going
No,
to.
the cool thing is that you don't have to add on at all. When you go to your little dot menu up in Google, Mary, do you want to show them?
The link is right there.
Okay. She's the link there. But when you're in your Google, all the products that are Google there, Jamboard is one of the options.
Or just jamboard.google.com.
And there's a little plus feature. You just add a new board. And the cool thing is it organizes in Google. So when you go to your recents, just like you see your recent slides or docs, you'll see your most recent boards as well.
This is the same document that we put in from last week from the Mesa Center for Teaching and Learning about groups and teaching with WebEx in general. Just in case anybody had missed it last week, we included it here. If you have questions or suggestions or things you want to see, or if you want to come and host with us and present, we are happy to have any of those things. You can use the bit.ly/LOL suggestion box. It is case sensitive, so it's capital LOL suggestion box. And then for today's slides, go to bit.ly/LOL-breakout-activities. The LOL is capital, the rest of it's all lowercase.
And next week we have Chris Ryder has agreed to come on and share with us Wilfred. So he's been playing around with it a little bit and some features for asynchronous. We haven't really talked about how you could use it synchronously, but
this was because I didn't know if he was going to be able to do it yet. So, but it will be Chris Ryder with us next week. It looks like him, doesn't it?
Yes, of course it does.
Hey, Jen, I had a question. Did you say Chris is going to show examples of using it asynchronously or synchronously?
I haven't used Wilfred before, so he teaches completely online. He's going to share how he uses it, and then we're going to talk about other ways that you could possibly use it in maybe a live session, if it's possible. I don't know. I haven't used it before.
Okay.
So it's new to us.
It will be very new to us, too.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing, but we are happy to hang around if you still have questions, comments.
Create a picture and upload a picture of yourself. It would be neat.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Wait.